So a couple of months ago, almost 2 months ago to be exact, I did a video called New Fragrances Dropping Soon. And in that video, I mentioned that Mercedes-Benz is dropping or launching 3 new fragrances. Those fragrances are called Land, Sea, and Air. Well, guess what? They're finally out. They're making their debut now. They're available online, or if you're near a Dillard store, some Dillard stores are selling it there now. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about these 3 fragrances because I've been waiting for these fragrances, especially since I've been really digging Mercedes-Benz Club Black fragrance. I've been featuring in various videos. This one is created by Olivier Cresp, but these 3 fragrances, the Land, Sea, and Air collection, are created by Anne Flipo of IFF. So if you like Mercedes-Benz as a brand and their fragrances, definitely you don't want to miss out on what I think about these fragrances. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, today I'm talking about Mercedes-Benz Land, Sea, and Air fragrances. So let me show you the fragrances here. We've got Land here. This one is Sea. And then this one is Air. So pretty much that should tell you what the fragrances are all about. Land utilizes ingredients from land. Sea utilizes ingredients from the sea. Not necessarily all from the sea, but from the sea as well as the land. And then Air utilizes ingredients from the earth, but it's definitely got the whole air experience going for it. So I enjoy one of these fragrances a lot, and I'm going to tell you after I tell you all about each of the fragrances. But definitely very solid creations by Anne Flipo, and she's done great fragrances for the designer market. I think this is going to satisfy many people out there who enjoy wearing designer fragrances. And if you're a person that likes, fragrances like Dior, YSL, and things like that, you'll definitely enjoy these fragrances. Some of them actually, 2 of them I really like, one I really love, and one of them, it's definitely not my style, and I want to be honest about it. It's a marine fragrance, obviously, and it's not something I enjoy wearing, but I feel like she's done a great job with it. And if you don't know Anne Flipo, the perfumer, she's with IFF, and she's done a lot of designer fragrances. I'm sure you've worn one of her creations if you've worn any designer fragrances. And also she's done niche fragrances. She did Synthetic Jungle for Frederic Malle, one of my favorite creations of hers. Really love the whole greenness. And then she's done other fragrances for Nichane and some other niche houses as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the fragrances. But before I do, again, these are just now dropping. September 1st was the date. Currently selling at Dillard's and dillards.com. Not all stores, but most should have them. These are refillable bottles. Let me show you. I like the fact that a lot of brands are doing refillable bottles, so you don't have to replace your bottle. You can buy just a refill to fill it up. And they're eau de parfum concentration, 100 ml for $115. And you can wear these separately, or you can layer with another fragrance to create an original fragrance, because the signature of the fragrances share a common base with more pronounced elements note in each of the fragrances. So you can do overlapping and layering, and they should complement one another to create a unique signature rather than wearing one on its own, which there's nothing wrong with doing that, but if you want to stand out, you can combine 2 fragrances together and it creates for a really great fragrance. For me, I enjoyed combining Land and Air. Love the combination. It also intensifies the fragrance. So the first fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is the first in the series. It's Land. It's this one right here. So this one has notes of black pepper, rosemary, cocoa shell, geranium, Cistus labdanum, fir balsam, patchouli, tonka beans. So this does have a pretty pronounced iris note. And when the iris is present, I do get a faint reminder of something like Dior Homme. Not necessarily the intense or the parfum, but the original. Because that powderiness against the spices and the fresh notes and the patchouli and tonka creates for that kind of an effect. It doesn't smell like it, just the experience on its own. But definitely you have aromatic touches. It's a bit herbal with the rosemary and spicy with the black pepper. Very pronounced up top. And then geranium comes in to give you a bit of aromatic boost, along with creating a light rosiness. Not a big one, but faint rosiness there. But it's mostly kind of minty and herbal with the whole geranium effect. but the fragrance dries down to more of an amber base. The Cistus Labdanum creates an ambery accord in the base, along with that really amazing fir balsam that's in here. Patchouli gives it the earthiness, and then the Tonka provides a bit of a more boost of the amber effect when it's drying down. And even though they don't mention that there is iris or orris in the notes, I definitely get a very pronounced iris-like accord in this fragrance, and it's really great for me. I really enjoy iris, and I like that whole Dior Homme signature, and this reminding me of it a little bit, but going into a different direction with its spiciness, the aromatic touches of the rosemary and the geranium, the cocoa shell, the ambery base. It's a great fragrance to wear, and I enjoyed combining this with air, and it created a bit of more of an ethereal quality. Air is definitely very ethereal and also kind of cold and ice and metallic a little bit, so it contrasted against this. And this land has a lot of warmth, and so it created a bit of a more airy combination of a deep kind of a fragrance inspired by land. This one's definitely my number 2 favorite. Now you know my number 1 favorite, but definitely very, very solid here with this fragrance. It's definitely great to wear. It doesn't wear uber intense. This is not anything beastly. It's Eau de Parfum concentration. It has great longevity. And out of the 3, I feel like land and sea have the same intensity, but air is definitely a lot airier, so it seems a bit lighter because I think they've created the air effect in that fragrance. But as far as smell goes, air is super, super awesome. It's a very, very fresh fragrance though. But land is really, really great. My number 2 favorite from the collection. And if you're looking for a little bit more substance with the 3 fragrances here from Mercedes-Benz Land, Sea, and Air collection, you definitely need to check out Land. So Land is the first fragrance I'm talking about today. It's a wonderful offering in the designer world. And if you're into wearing fragrances from brands like Dior, YSL, and things like that, I think these fragrances are definitely going to satisfy. They're definitely in the level or quality of those kind of fragrances, especially since they are using a very well-known perfumer who has experience with working for not only brands like that, the niche world, as well as a brand like Mercedes-Benz. So let me go ahead and smell the fragrance for you on camera and tell you a little bit more as well. So there's definitely a freshness about this one. They don't mention any freshness of citruses, but when you first spray it, there's definitely the freshness of the citruses up top. But eventually it starts getting spicy and herbal and concentrated when it's drying down. And throughout this journey, you're going to experience iris-like qualities. And I enjoy the iris in here. It's a nice contrast. The iris is powdery, but also a bit creamy. We're dealing with perhaps orris butter or something in that kind of quality, that not only does it have the powdery effect against all these kind of aromatic and spicy notes, also the amber, but then also there's this creamy layer about it, which gives you a bit of a comforting vibe. This is fun fragrance, definitely wearable here. This is Mercedes-Benz Land. Check that out if you haven't yet. Again, these are selling at Dillard's currently. Dillard's online and some of the stores, or most of the stores. So we're going to talk about the challenging fragrance for me. And those of you that watch my channel know I'm a bit challenged with marine notes. So this is sea. Obviously, sea should mean you are going to smell a bit of sea-like qualities in the fragrance, correct? So it has notes of tangerine, violet leaves, seaweed. These are the only notes that are credited for this one. I also get some woods, I get some salt, and I get some nondescript floral notes in here. Maybe magnolia, some light jasmine, no endolic qualities of the jasmine. So that's why I'm saying it's a bit nondescript, because you can't really figure out what kind of floral notes it is. But it's just there to kind of accentuate all the notes that are in here. So tangerine for its citrusy qualities, right? So it's juicy. I really enjoy tangerine. It can go a bit sweet tart. In this case, it's in the mid, more on the sweet side. Violet leaves for that very fresh, juicy, apple-like ozonic touches. It can have crispy touches, and crisp as in it has crispness, freshness, and there's a crunchy quality about violet leaves as well. And it creates a watery quality. So in this case, we're getting the whole aquatic touch from the violet leaves. We're also getting ozonic touches in this one from those violet leaves. it can sometimes trick you into smelling like cucumber, apples, and things like that. But in this case, it doesn't, because we've got a nice dosage of the tangerine to contrast against the violet leaves ozonic touches. But here's the part that I don't enjoy in marine fragrances. They have a ton of seaweed in this fragrance to give you that whole marine boost. So in the end, we're adding seaweed. We're combining it with violet leaves. So you're getting a whole marine effect, like seawater effect, because violet leaves does create that whole, watery effect, ozonic touches, aquatic touches. And then with the seaweed, it smells like it's definitely inspired by the sea. But I am picking up some woods because it does dry down to some woods. As I said, there's a saltiness in it as well. And then, of course, some light floral touches. You're definitely picking them up, but very, very nondescript. I felt like this was strong on me in comparison to the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about. But the first fragrance, Land and the Sea, were in the same depth, the same intensity in comparison to Air. And I feel like Air feels lighter because it is inspired by Air in the end. But also with Sea, I feel like because I'm so sensitive to marine notes, it could be acting a lot stronger than it is. But in the end, it's pretty strong for me for a designer fragrance. It's not necessarily beast mode or anything like that, where you're talking about fragrances that can last on you for days and days and days and fill a room up with its smell. But it's got good longevity for what it is, and it goes on for quite some time. So this is unfortunately my least favorite of the bunch, and only because I don't really care for marine smelling fragrances. But I know there's a lot of fans of marine fragrances out there. There's a lot of you that enjoy marine fragrances, so you might really dig this one. But let's go ahead and smell this real quickly. It's juicy up top. Tangerine and violet leaves, very drippy. Very drippy. Like you get tangerines that are very juicy and citrusy up top, and then mixed with the violet leaves with its aquatic ozonic touches, creates a very juicy, drippy experience. And hey, it's sea after all. You're diving into water when you go to the sea. So that's the theme of the fragrance. Eventually the seaweed creeps up on you and it starts becoming more and more sea smelling. And then that's one of the reasons why this one didn't react very positively for me. And you guys know this about me. I always say that about marine fragrances. Seaweed is a bit tough. Cologne is very challenging. Sometimes ozonic notes are very, very fun for me. I really enjoy violet leaves, but especially when you add the seaweed in there. So it does creep up on you, the seaweed. But as I said, I know there's a lot of fans of this style of fragrance out there, and it's very refreshing. If you like smell of sea, the idea of sea breeze and things like that, definitely try this one. And as I said, it does go woodier when it's drying down, and then also a bit floral as well. But that is Sea. And for me, the winner of these three fragrances is Air. I don't know what it is about this one, but I really enjoy the smell. But I do know what it is about this one and why I like it. First of all, as I said, this is Air, right? So it acts a bit more ethereal and airy. It has an airy quality about it, and I think the inspiration is great. It's also kind of cold and crisp, and the notes they're using in here are also really cold and crisp. There's a greenness about it as well, which I quite like. I enjoy green fragrances. And of course, there's patchouli in here. So there's a lot of great things about this fragrance, but in the end, it's a bit closer to the skin. So it doesn't have this massive edge about it in comparison to the other two fragrances. But the notes in Air are Angelica, Armoise, which is mugwort, or another name for it is Artemisia. And Artemisia, mugwort do have a bit of absinthe-like quality. And this is the key note. I really, really love absinthe in fragrances, or this whole idea of absinthe, anise, and wormwood and things like that. So that's probably one of the reasons why I really, really enjoy Air. But there's also Petitgrain, Turmeric, and I also get woods, patchouli, citruses, and white musk. There's an airy quality about it. And again, floating in air idea is definitely spot on with this fragrance, and it smells fantastic. If you like the idea of ice-cold fragrances, I did a video on ice-cold fragrances recently. This would have fit on in that video perfectly because it's very ice-cold. There's a coldness about it, and I'm a fan of pastis. I don't know if you guys ever drink that stuff. Absinthe as well, but more with pastis. And I like the idea of ice cold pastis. Shot of it, sipping on it, really great, and just kind of put me in that kind of a place because of that whole Armoise note, which is basically mugwort, artemisia, and it does remind me of wormwood, which is kind of what's used in the absinthe liqueur. But this is great, very, very fresh. And even though I said they're citruses, I think they're focusing on other ingredients to create this freshness. There's citruses here, most likely, and also the white musk. So it comes off very clean, crisp, a bit metallic, a bit sharp, but also very, very flowy. It floats in the air. There's a softness about it, but also a sharpness about it at the same time. Along the way, you are experiencing some woods. There's definitely the bitter greenness of the Petitgrain, which is the bitter orange tree leaves. I really love anything with licorice, anise, wormwood, absinthe, and in this case, Armoise, which is Artemisia and mugwort and things like that. And we've already featured this fragrance in an upcoming video of this kind of a theme of fragrances, so you'll see that in the future. But between the three fragrances, I think Air is great. And I can wear this day in and day out. I think it's an easy to wear fragrance. And also, I think it should be a crowd pleaser because it's not a fragrance that overwhelms with sensitive noses and things like that. So it'll definitely blend in with your own body chemistry and kind of put off a really nice fragrance. I think this could be also something you can wear in an office setting. It's definitely an office safe kind of a fragrance, but definitely a solid release for me. I really enjoy this one. So Air by Mercedes-Benz, a really wonderful fragrance from this house, my favorite of the three. And then, of course, Air is my favorite. Land is my second favorite. And then Sea is my third favorite. So I can't love everything, right? And I'm challenged with marine notes. And that's how I would rank these fragrances. And check this one out. It does create the whole Mercedes logo there. Really a great idea to put these together. But let me know your thoughts on these fragrances. Have you sampled them yet? Are you curious to sample them? Again, these are definitely very designer. If you're into the idea of designer fragrances, definitely check these out. I know I speak more about niche fragrances, but I was definitely very excited about these three. That's why I discussed them in a video a couple months ago. And the reason also is because I'm a fan of this one. I really, really enjoy this wonderful vanillic fragrance. And so that's why once I discovered this, I said, okay, this brand is making some quality stuff. So that's why I was curious about these. And I think out of the three fragrances from the Land, Sea, and Air, definitely Air is the one that's going to be put to use. I really, really enjoy that one. And it'll be for those days I want something really pleasant smelling, really wonderful greenish idea of the notes, and also airy and pleasant smelling fragrance. Really loved it. So that's Air once again, and that's my favorite of the three. So let me know your thoughts on these three fragrances. What do you think? Are you curious to go smell them? Those of you that are near Dillard's, have you checked them out yet? I know they just debuted on the 1st, so they're probably going to be rolling out at other retailers very soon, perhaps next month. But if you've gotten your nose on these fragrances, do let me know. Put a comment down below so I can find out. Either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.